I got my Donna Tart shirt on. It's time for my February wrap up. Hello, book friends, and welcome back to the channel. It's Alyssa. Hello, if you are new. I am wearing my Girl Parts sweatshirt, my Donna Tarts sweatshirt. You can get your shirt at girlparts.co. Yes, there are going to be a series of videos where I am just advertising my friend's shop where she sells shirts with moody girl writers on them. Get yours today. It is the very beginning of March, and we are sat here on a rainy day trying to record because it's the only day that I have. And let's get through my February wrap up. We do this like we do always. We are going to go through my Storygraph stats. We are then going to jump into my bookly and look at everything I read in the month. And that is that. I'm going to move this little pillow out of my way because it is falling on me. We are in my book nook. I am trying to stay somewhere like sort of cozy today. It's a cozy kind of day. I hope you don't mind. There's going to be a lot of videos from here, I think, right now. Let's get into it. In the month of February, I read 17 books, which is 5,607 pages. My year seems to be slightly less sad compared to last year. Hopefully that's like a good overall sign for the mental health. Maybe there'll be fewer minty bees all year. Because we are emotional, yes, and reflective, yes, but we have adventurous and funny. And I will say that this month was a great month. I really indulged in the things that I love in February, and it shows in my ratings and my overall joy with reading this month. So we're going to carry on. We'll talk about that more. Pace, we're like slow and medium, not a lot of fast-paced stuff. Interesting. Page numbers, in that sweet spot, 300 to 400, 300 to 500 pages, a couple smaller books under 3. Not a lot of chunkers this month, but that's okay. Not every month is a chunky book month. I think, is March supposed to be the big tomes book month? I don't know. I need a drink. I read a little bit of nonfiction this month. My genres, I think, are very interesting for me. Fantasy is at the top. I know, I'm shocked too. Romance, queer books, then literary. Who am I this year? And then classics, graphic novels, contemporary, blah bitty bibbity boo. And then my overall ratings, this is the shocker, my overall rating for all the books that I read in February is 4.32. You were either like a stellar book or you were a 2-star book. There was nothing in between this month, and I really loved that about February. I was just prioritizing things that made me happy, and I did not care about anything else. And yeah, I loved February. So let's get into the books for the month. All right, we are going to start right here with Sense and Sensibility, which I loved. There's a review on the channel. You don't need me to go into more about how much I enjoyed this. I am reading all of Jane Austen's major works this year, as I've said in many videos, so there will be 6 little videos coming out of my experiences, reading all of those, rereading some of those, reading some for the first time throughout the year, so stay tuned for those individual reviews. But general takeaway, loved it. Jane Austen is chef's kiss, and I need to read more. I need to read Jane Austen more often. It was so refreshing picking up an Austen for the first time in maybe a year or two, and I think she just needs to be read every year. She brings me like peak joy, like top tier joy. I'm trying to leave this space open, and I'm already waving my hands through it. I am also trying to read at least one sort of Jane Austen Regency nonfiction while I'm reading these Austen books. I read Jane Austen at Home by Lucy Worsley, and this was really lovely. Lucy Worsley is a fantastic historian, and I really like her. I've only ever seen her shows or seen her on TV. I've never read any of her books, so this was the first time I read one of her books, and I loved it. I loved all the inside knowledge that I didn't know, and I love finding out the things that I don't know because I feel like I've researched so many things in the past that it's nice to still be able to be filling in gaps on something that I love. So do recommend this. Hobb, my Hobb journey is going well. Finished Royal Assassin, loving it. I'm going to start the third and final book in the Farseer trilogy this month, and I'm very excited to see where this goes. I know that Fitz is billed as like a whiny boy, but he's not bothering me. Maybe I just like a good emo boy. I don't know. I love him very much. I am loving these books. I love Hobbs' writing. I love the world building. I love the little details. I love how just beautiful it all is. I do question why he has to have a relationship with Molly. And when I'm done with all these books, I will be going on AO3 and I need Fits in the Fool fanfic. I need that ship. That is the ship I am shipping, and I want that. No more Molly. Okay? That's it. Probably my most disappointing read of the year. I think it'll be hard to beat this. I think it'll be hard to be more disappointing than Crescent City 3. I did not enjoy this. It definitely needed to be edited. I think it was not giving what we wanted it to give, despite the fact that I'm sure there are thousands of people out there who have written reviews or made vlogs and given their reactions and are absolutely thrilled because they will eat up anything Sarah J. Maas writes and they don't need a critical eye. But I can't help myself. It is not well written. It is not well done. That's not how space works. Okay. That's not how black holes work. This is not how they work. Okay. And then I just, it wasn't what I wanted. I know that Hunt and Bryce are very much mated. I get that. But I don't believe it. I believed it in book 1. I still believed it in book 2. By the time I got to book 3, I don't believe it. I don't think that they are. I wanted her when she was in those caves and she met Azrael. I was like, maybe we'll have some Shadow Daddy magic. But no. There were some really cool characters in here, though, that got more time on the page, like Lydia and some of the other characters that were kind of side characters in the other 2 books. And perhaps if she carries on with those, I will enjoy them. But I do think that when you get that big, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have an editor. I think this happens a lot with authors that have built-in rabid fandoms that they get to write whatever the hell they want, be completely unedited, and it shows in the books. You still need an editor, a vicious editor. You could have done so much. You could have made this 2 books. You could have taken out chunks of this. It was somehow too fast and too slow in pacing. Sarah, you disappointed me. The Iliac Crest by Cristina Rivera Garza. I enjoyed this. I think this is a book that needs to be reread a few times. I think I need to do a little bit more research into like Mexican literary history, because this is a very atmospheric, kind of gothic, haunting story that talks a lot about the women who are disappeared, Mexican politics, Mexican literature, and the suppression of voices, particularly female voices. And it talks about, there's a couple specific people that are real life people that are named in this book, and I don't know enough about them to, I think, capture the full impact of this story. But with all that being said, the writing is phenomenal. I really enjoyed the feel of this and the unsettling, unreliable narrator. And I definitely feel like if I do a little bit more research and go back to this, I will have an even better experience with it. It won't just be great writing. I will also feel the impact of some of the plot points as well that are kind of went over my head a bit because I don't know about this author. It's very famous Mexican author that is named in this. I don't know about her. So I missed some things, but definitely worth reading. I would like to read more from her to carry along on the Austen theme, because we all know I will read almost any Jane Austen spinoff. Gabe Cole Novoa, perhaps I said that right, came out with Most Ardently. It's a Pride and Prejudice remix. This is a whole series of books that one of the publishing houses is doing. I can't remember who, but they're remixing a bunch of classics and kind of making them more modern. Even if they're set in the time period that they were originally set in, they're modernizing like language and theme and subject matter. And I really enjoyed this. Elizabeth Bennet is actually trans, and I can't remember his name, but he follows along all the well-known plot points of Pride and Prejudice. But there's a twist in the fact that Elizabeth isn't Elizabeth. And there's so many really heartwarming moments where Mr. Bennet recognizes him as his son and how loving Jane is to him. And um, the relationship with Darcy is really lovely. Wickham is absolutely terrible. Mr. Collins is a little bit terrible in this as well. And I thought this was a fun, interesting spin on a book I know really well. And I loved the representation in it. And I just loved how overall positive this book is, despite the fact that our main character is, oh, I need to go through my notes. I can't remember what his name really is, because I don't want to keep dead naming this fictional character. But I loved how you got to see joy and love and happiness and someone coming out and being themselves and being accepted as themselves. I thought that was all absolutely phenomenal, and I was here for it. I enjoyed this. Oh, this book had me in a chokehold, for lack of a better term. Filterworld, How Algorithms Flattened Culture. I love this book. This book is all about algorithms and social media and how they influence basically everything that we do. And it has left me with so many questions, particularly around like art and create and being a creative. Like, how do you create outside of the algorithm? Can you? Is everything you do influenced by the algorithm? It makes me long for a slightly less connected world. There's this theme that's occurring for this year, it seems, and that's this nostalgia for a slightly slower world. I mean, I don't want to go all the way back. I'm not trying to get rid of everything, but it would just be nice to slow down a little bit. Like, I feel like we have sped up too much, to the point where these computers, these algorithms, these tech companies are really like controlling too many aspects of our lives through these computer algorithms. And I really enjoyed the discussion in this. It just made me miss a lot of things, and it made me think a lot. And one of the things I keep thinking is like, can we bring back the salon where, some wealthy benefactor, some place, some community center, whatever it is, where you can just kind of all hang out, and maybe you're all writers or you're all whatever, and you just showcase your work and you talk and you collectively do things, and you do it in real time, in person. As much as I have social anxiety, and that also sounds terrifying, I kind of miss that ability to have that truly human connection. And I don't know if social media, the internet, algorithms, all of that is helping my social anxiety at all. I think it may be isolating somebody like me more. But anyway, I really enjoyed this. I think this is a phenomenal book. I need more people to read it so we can have a discussion about it. It's really good. Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I'm going to be doing a standalone review for this, and I'm also going to be talking about it on the podcast with Naomi. But this book was phenomenal. It's a debut. He's a poet, but this is his first full-length novel, and I absolutely adored this. It is a rumination on like death, finding meaning in your life, sobriety, uh, being an immigrant, being Iranian, American, Iran politics. It is so well done. I love this book. I mean, my copy, I have it here for the review. It is marked up like nobody's business, and I'm excited to talk about this with Naomi. I have a lot of things that are highlighted and commented on, and I have a lot of quotes that I've pulled out and put in my journal. My review is going to be pretty bare bones because I really want to get into it with Naomi on the podcast, but I really wanted something here on the channel that you guys could go to, just to push this out and have more people reading it. But I think that there are a lot of people reading it. I think that this is one of the big hits of early 2024. So I'm really excited for this one. Loved it. Please read it. It's so good. Okay, here's where I hit like a stride of like happiness. You can see them here. I read the last 3 volumes of Lore Olympus that are currently available in anticipation of reading the next volume, which is volume 6, which comes out in maybe May, I think. I could be wrong. Editing, Alyssa will correct me if I'm wrong. But I love Lore Olympus, so I did read those. So we're just going to skim through them. These are graphic novels that have really beautiful art. It's a story of Hades and Persephone, but it's kind of like set in a sort of modern setting, but it's still not modern. I don't know. It's a very interestingly built world. I like how Rachel Smythe is including the whole pantheon of gods into it, and it's it's really well done, and the romance in it is just top notch, and I love it. I love it so much. Now, another book that I didn't love so much, and we will be talking about this on the podcast, and this was our January, February pick for TBR Lowdown, and this is Vengeance is Mine by Marie Ende. I can never say her name right. That might be the closest I've gotten. I read Self-Portrait in Green, and I wasn't sold on it. There was something lacking, and I feel the same way with this. It's very, I want to call it stream of consciousness, but I don't think it's that. It just feels very pointless, which in and of itself is not necessarily bad, but it just feels like it's almost making commentary on things. And I think that's why it's bothering me, because like the writing itself isn't terrible, but I feel like she never really stuck any landings on anything. Like there's some conversation about maybe like being an immigrant in France, maybe some kind of conversation about class and upward mobility and things like that. There's some kind of conversation about relationships. I don't know. It's just something, it's mm, more Laura Olympus, more Laura Olympus. Can't Spell Treason Without T by Rebecca Thorne. Reread. I was reading it in advance of an interview I did with her, which will be coming out in a few weeks. Tor, Bramble, which is their like romancy imprint that they launched last year, I want to say. They picked up this self-pub book. I love Rebecca Thorne. If you've been here for a while, there's reviews on the channel for this and for This Gilded Abyss, which is also phenomenal, very different. This is cozy fantasy. That is a little bit more like fantasy with like some more murdery stuff and some more spice. But I loved this. We had a great interview, which you guys will see in a couple weeks. It's coming out under Bramble in, I want to say May, and I loved it. I still love it. It's still great. I love any book that has a more mature, healthy romance with like good communication and like an established romance between two established partners. I love that. I eat that shit up. And this has that. It also has magical creatures and baked goods and just enough stakes to make it interesting. And all the things that I said in my original review still stand, except for the fact that I could not get the name of this book right in that entire review. And it's so cringe. I always want to I keep saying Can't Spell Tea Without Treason, which is not the name of the book, but anyway. Poor Dear by Claire Oshetsky. I love this book. If you have not read this book, please read this book. And then also read Chouette. I love that book. I don't know what it is about her storytelling that is just so like crack to me, but I love it. Poor Dear, you have this young girl who makes one mistake and it haunts her for the rest of her life in the form of this like doe that sits on her back called Poor Dear. And the whole story is her attempting to tell you the truth about what happened and her life up until this point where she's narrating the story from in the future. And it is constantly being rewritten and retold because she lies. It is all about the mistakes that haunt us, the way that we lie to ourselves to cope. It is so freaking good. Please read this. I think this is going to be one of my favorite books of the year. I truly do. The Hearing Trumpet by Leonora Carrington. I have a review planned for this one as well. This is a short novel that talks a lot about how the world treats women, especially as they age, how religion writes women out of it, particularly Christianity, and how it and the patriarchy, and it's also surreal and dreamlike and bizarre, and uh, I I love this. I this was my shit. I loved this so much. So I'm very excited to do this review. I hope this review comes out well. I tried to like make it structured and researched and like not my normal rambly like excitement, but really like I really worked on this one. So hopefully it comes across. And but I love this. If you like magical realism that is absurd, like Master and Margarita, if you like books where your characters descend sort of into a delirium or madness, like maybe like We Spread, but aren't necessarily dark and ominous like that one is, but has like a lighterness that has like dry, biting humor and a lot of commentary, but you can also read at surface value, like at face value, read it very surface level and enjoy the wild ride. I would read this. If you liked Orlando, like this was my shit. I love this book. But I fully understand that it's not going to be for everybody, but I loved this. I finally finished Ariel by Sylvia Plath, which you're going to say, Alyssa, why do you mean you finally finished it? I have started and restarted this collection of poetry multiple times, multiple times. And every time I've tried, I've gotten maybe like, I don't know, 6 poems in, and I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. Like it's not connecting. I don't know why people really like Sylvia Plath's poetry. I don't get it. What is this? I was a fool. It's so freaking good. I absolutely ate this shit up. I think I just needed to be in the right headspace. So I got to the right point in my life, apparently, to read this. I'm glad I never gave up on it. And now I have so many questions I need to read, read, comment. I need to know about this data first. I need to know more about her terrible husband. I need to know more about all of her experiences in like mental health institutions and ECT. I need it all. I need it all. I need it all. I need it all. I get it. I get it now. I get it. Okay. Okay. Plath girlies, I get it. And then finally, our Patreon pick from January and February was Against the Loveless World, and I love this. I talk about it in a TBR Lowdown episode. I think this book is so stellar, so heartbreaking, so important, particularly at this time while there's a genocide going on and we're all watching it and cannot stop it. It follows a Palestinian woman who first she is living in Kuwait, and then she has to go to Jordan after Saddam Hussein invades, and then the US comes and all of that. And then she eventually makes her way back to Palestine, and she finally starts to gain that connection to past ancestry, place, culture. And from that comes resistance and what one might call terrorism and another might call freedom fighting. And it ends with her being imprisoned for terrorist acts. And the story is going back and forth between her in this absolutely inhumane cell and being interviewed and trotted out for people and treated like an animal, essentially, and her like life story. And the ending had me in absolute tears. I If you have read this, you know that ending is so bittersweet, so simultaneously heartwarming and heartbreaking, and it's perfection. This book is so good. I had to physically slow myself down reading it and only read it like every few days because I didn't want to devour it, but I would have devoured it. And please read this. Such an important read, such a good read. Absolutely phenomenal. That is everything I read in the month of February. Last month, I did tell you about the books that I'm carrying over into next month. So I am only really carrying over Lies and Sorcery, and I just feel like I'm going to be toting this book around for almost the entirety of 2024. I don't want to DNF it. I just never remember that I'm reading it until it's like time to stop reading for the day, and I need to devote more time to it. But yeah, that's the only thing I'm carrying over. I've pretty much cleared out everything I had been currently reading, and I'm really excited for March. I've got more Farseer. I've got a couple more heartwarming, like just makes me happy books going, including a mystery romance that I've read before, but I want to keep going with the series. So I started back at book 1. I've only ever read book 1. I'm reading something else. What else am I reading? Oh, I'm reading a little romancy with Asthmatic Girl Rep, which makes me so happy as your resident asthmatic. I am so happy. Because you know what? We can be heroes too, okay? Just because we need albuterol and sometimes we sound like Doc Holliday when we run doesn't mean that we can't be a hero, okay? Anyway, that's what's in store in the beginning of March. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm very much loving life. I had a really good month. I hope you did too. Let me know some of your favorite reads from February. Let me know if you've read any of these and what your thoughts are. And yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching. This is a long video as always. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video, whatever it may be, because it's my channel and I can do whatever I want. Bye.
So just sit with me, talking to the night until the morning, building chemistry. I don't think I ever wanna go come closer next to me, trying to find another way to say this.